Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on group therapy. We're going to follow the entire journey, from those first super awkward moments all the way to the powerful breakthroughs that can happen when a bunch of strangers decide to get real with each other. So, let me ask you this. Have you ever started a new project at work? At first, everyone's on their best behavior, right? Super polite. But then, a few weeks in, bam, the gloves come off and things get tense. Well, that exact same dynamic is at the very heart of how group therapy works. And that's because, really, a therapy group is just a tiny, concentrated version of the real world. It's a lab, in a way. It gives you a close-up look at how we build relationships, how we deal with conflict, and how we figure out where we fit in. It's life just under a microscope. All right, so let's start right at the beginning with stage one. We can call it the orientation phase, but let's be honest, it's the awkward introduction stage. This is where everyone's kind of checking each other out, feeling unsure, maybe even a little suspicious. And the main event of this first stage is something we all deal with: trust versus mistrust. Before anything else can happen, every single person in that room is asking themselves the same basic questions. Is this place safe? Can I actually trust these strangers? And maybe most importantly, can I trust the person leading this thing? Now, there's a psychological term for the engine that's driving all this tension. It's called an approach-avoidance conflict, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that feeling when you're pulled toward a goal, but also totally repelled by it at the very same time. You want the good stuff, but you're terrified of what it might cost you. And this is basically what that internal battle looks like. On one side, you've got the approach voice saying, hey, I really want to connect with people. I want to be accepted. But then the avoidance voice chimes in with, yeah, but what if they reject me? I'm so scared of being rejected. It's this constant tug of war inside that makes this first stage so incredibly tense. So what happens after all that quiet, awkward tension? Well, things get loud. We're moving into stage two, which is where all that initial politeness starts to wear off, and yeah, the fireworks begin. Experts call this the power and control stage. No messing around with that name, right? It's because people stop trying to just quietly fit in. Instead, they start jostling for position, trying to figure out their role and influence within the group. And that fight for control, it can get pretty messy. You might see people verbally challenging each other, or even pushing back against the therapist. Little cliques might form and start bickering. You'll start to see a clear hierarchy, a kind of pecking order taking shape. Honestly, this is usually the toughest stage for everybody. The material we're looking at just nails it with this quote. This is that high drama, high conflict phase you always see in the movies. It's chaotic, for sure. But here's the thing. It's a totally necessary step for the group to get past the surface level stuff and become real. So you're probably wondering, with all this drama, how does the whole thing not just completely implode? Well, this is where the group leader really earns their keep. They have a whole toolkit of techniques to manage the storm and make sure everyone stays safe. I mean, think about it. What's a therapist supposed to do when one person starts gossiping about someone who isn't there or says something that's just flat out mean? They can't just sit there and let it happen, right? They use a technique called blocking, and this is so important. It's an active move. The leader physically and verbally steps in to stop any behavior, whether it's gossip, a personal attack, or someone breaking the confidentiality rule that could hurt someone or damage the group itself. This analogy just makes it crystal clear, doesn't it? Blocking is purely defensive. The leader's job is to be a referee, to protect the safety of the ring so that the fighters, the group members, feel safe enough to actually be vulnerable. It is an absolutely essential skill to get through stage two. A leader's strategy also kind of boils down to two main approaches. First, you've got the vertical intervention. This is when the therapist zooms in on just one person, maybe digging into their past or their internal thoughts. It's intrapersonal. Then there's the horizontal intervention. This is where the leader zooms out and looks at the group as a whole, what's happening between people right here, right now. It's interpersonal. A really skilled leader knows exactly when to zoom in and when to zoom out. Okay, so after the group makes it through the storm of stage two, they finally get to the real payoff. This is where things get productive, and people start to feel like a real team. All that trust they built by getting through the conflict allows for some genuine, deep work to happen. And that's what sets them up for the final chapter, saying goodbye. So you can see the clear progression, right? After the power struggles are more or less sorted out, the group enters the working stage. This is the whole point of therapy, Trust is high, so people can share their deepest stuff, get real feedback, and try out new ways of being with each other in a safe place. And only after that tough, important work is done can the group really prepare for the end, in the termination stage. And termination sounds kind of harsh, but it's not just about ending things. It's a really important time for putting all the pieces together. People look back on what they've learned, how they've changed, and they make actual plans for how to take all these new insights and use them in their real lives. It's all about making sure the benefits stick. Now that we've walked through the whole roller coaster of a journey, we get to the big question. Is it all worth it? And like pretty much any kind of therapy, group work has some major upsides and some very real downsides. So on the plus side, it's usually way more affordable than one-on-one sessions. It's also an amazing way to feel less alone. You realize other people are going through the same stuff. Plus, you're not just getting feedback from one therapist, you're hearing from a whole room of people. But here's a really cool one. You don't just get help, you learn how to give it. And that can be incredibly empowering. But, of course, you've got to consider the risks. If a group isn't run well, there's a real chance of emotional harm. Confidentiality is a huge deal. A leader can't 100% guarantee that people won't talk outside the group. You might feel pressure to just go along with what everyone else is saying. And obviously, you get way less one-on-one time with the therapist. All of this is why it's generally not a good fit for someone who's in the middle of a major crisis. And that brings us to one last, really fascinating question that comes up in the research. As group therapy keeps evolving, is its main focus going to shift? Is it possible that the future of therapy is less about healing old wounds and more about giving people practical training in life skills? It's a pretty interesting thought to leave you with.